So the webinar is live streaming. And we'll put the link in the chat soon if you want to share with anyone who may not be able to log in to the Zoom itself, but they can go onto the YouTube and watch. Okay. So I'm going to put it in the chat. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening. We really appreciate you coming and being here with us. And I want to welcome everyone. We have our team here, as you can see. And we are streaming live on Afrique Today. And we're streaming live on our own YouTube page. And I put the link on there. And give me a second to make our tech guy, because as I said to you all before, I'm a lawyer. Dr. Fuad is a doctor. None of us here are technical people. So I was just about to share, I'm going to share with our tech guy, Alain Pierre, from Afrique Today, so he can share the link with all of you down here for just in case. Yeah. Let's see if I can make him co-host. I'm learning, you guys, so please excuse the technical difficulties that may happen, okay? And I appreciate all of you. Alan, I'm gonna bring you here. But it won't let me make him as a co-host, but we'll get you the link, okay? So, as always, quick, fast story this time because we have to get moving. Quick, fast story. I like to tell the story at the beginning because there's so much to talk about us as Africans not being cohesive and working together and not wanting to be a unit. Africans in the diaspora for Kamala Harris. I wanted to mobilize the African immigrant community based off of Women with Black Women. I posted it in a WhatsApp group created by one of our sisters, Vicky Remo. She knows Dr. Fuad very well. And she then told me by message, hey, I'm working with Dr. Fuad. He wants to raise money for the campaign. So why don't you talk to him? So I called Dr. Fuad and I told him I wanted to mobilize the African immigrant community. And I started this Facebook group called Africans in the Diaspora. And he said, how about we work together? I said, yes. And here we are. We are working together. We have a whole team of people working towards the same goal of ensuring that we mobilize continental Africans here in the US behind the Harris-Walz ticket. And we're excited. We're enthusiastic. Correct, Fuad?
Yes, we are. We are.
We're excited. And tonight's guests will show you how excited we are and where we are in trying to mobilize our community to ensure that we win this election. And I will move it over before I go into my usual opening of this different steps. Dr. Fuad, do you have anything to add to that before I go into the rules?
I mean, good evening, everyone, our membership as well as our attendees out there. I just want to thank everyone, obviously, for taking time off your busy schedule. This is a Wednesday night. We all are excited. We historically Africans, we've done our stuff individually, but we all felt collectively it's good for us to get together and speak as a voice. Africans in the diaspora for Harris-Walz it's a combination of Africans from all over the continent. We're all over in the US, different states, and we are excited. We know what's on the line. We know at the end of the day, when something goes wrong in America, we are the first to be picked on. As you can see, our brothers and sisters in Springfield, Ohio have been picked on right now. So we have to galvanize and make sure Kamala Harris wins this election. So thank you guys for being here. We're all family and look forward to this dialogue.
Perfect. So as usual, just to give a little information, as immigrants, there are certain rules that apply to us that do not apply to everyone else, right? So permanent residents, just to give you a little bit of information on electoral process. Permanent residents can vote. Permanent residents cannot vote. Permanent residents can donate. Permanent residents can knock on doors, make phone calls. US citizens are the only ones who can vote in this presidential election. Only US citizens can vote. No one else can vote. And only permanent residents and US citizens can donate. Foreign nationals cannot donate. Foreign nationals cannot donate to this campaign. They may be able to make phone calls, maybe knock on doors if they want to, but they cannot donate so long as they're not US citizens or permanent residents, okay? But if you know somebody in your household who is a permanent resident, encourage them to donate to our dedicated link that has been put in the chat. If you know somebody in your household or anywhere else who is a US citizen, encourage them to register to vote if they're not registered. We will later be putting information out as to different states. So keep that in mind. And on that note, we want to get inspirational words from Dr. Bull. He's going to take a couple of minutes to give us some inspirational words and talk a little bit about his RSVP. Take it over.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this session. And as you know, we are the Africans in the diaspora for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I'm excited about this opportunity for us Africans that we've come together as a group. I live in North Carolina, and I predicted it from day one that we're going to turn North Carolina blue. And right now it is sky blue, but we're going to get it navy blue pretty soon. With that, I just want to say that we should be motivated. I think you're asking your why. We all come in with our whys, and the fact that you've logged on tonight to have a conversation with us means you're on the positive side of your why. This election is the most consequential election of our lifetime, not only for the United States, not only for global politics, but you could imagine the implications for African politics and for democracy in Africa. I don't want to even think about the alternative. All I want to think about is Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Because with what we are going through in Africa, with a population 75% youth that are looking for opportunities and possibilities to be where we are today and where we are sitting right now, the only way it would happen for the African youths is through this ticket. And therefore, we must push and push as if our lives hold on to this piece. You know, if you are not at the table, you are part of the menu, and we see it in Springfield. The Asian community, they are not citizens right now. They cannot vote, therefore they are not at the table. Because they know they cannot be at the table, they've put them on the menu, and they're slicing and dicing them at their will. We cannot let this happen to us, and therefore we must come together. You know, as Kamala Harris said, when we fight, we win. And we're going to win because we're going to fight. But there are many ways we could fight, and we have to inspire not only ourselves because you're here, but because we have to reach out to other people. So I came up with your RSVP. If you want to be at the table, at the Harris-Walz table, and to sit at the table at the White House, for us to be strong advocates, not only for the US, not only for global politics, but for African politics and democracy in Africa, you must RSVP on this ticket so that you would have a place. And when you go through the RSVP, the acronym, the R is for you to register. If you have not registered by now, please make sure you do so. And if you've registered, you need to check with all your friends, relatives, cousins who are citizens of this America to make sure they register. It's important that we fulfill that as part of the RSVP. The S is to sponsor. And to sponsor this campaign in every which way possible. We are looking for 1,000 small donors. And we are almost halfway there with the 1,000 small donors. So please find your friends. And as we speak tonight, make sure you go to the link that we've put up to say, yes, I want to be at the table and I'm going to make a $5, $10. Because we need it in Pennsylvania, we need it in North Carolina, we need it in Georgia, we need it in Nevada, we need it all over so that we could make a difference. The R, I said, is to register. The S is to sponsor. The V is to vote. Not only are you going to vote, but to get out the vote. This is the stage we are in right now. We need to get out the vote. We need to have people. You should be doing your own polls right now. Get to your friends and do a quick poll. Who are you going to vote for? Who are you going to vote for? Who are you going to vote for? And tell them it's a pyramid system. Go find 5 more people. Tell those 5 to find 5 more people. Because when we do that through the pyramid system, we're going to guarantee that we would get the vote. So that V is very important. And the P is to promote. Is to promote this ticket, is to push this ticket to do whatever you can. Because right now, you know, as Timari said, you could sleep when you're dead. We don't need to sleep for 45 plus days. We need to keep the vigil. We need to push it and push it as if our lives depend on it. And truly, our lives depend on it. Because the privilege we've experienced and how some of us came to this country and to settle down, that line is gone. So if we have people on the table that would help the youths to get scholarships, STEM, USAID, and all of those things for Africa, Africa will be lost. And this is the ticket, the only ticket that could do it from Africa. We know the alternative for the other ticket. So it is consequential. So I call upon you tonight and every night for the next 45 days to do this, to serve God and humanity, because this is where we are right now. With all the energy we've put into this fight, they're telling us it's even, it's tied. You could tell that this election is consequential. So this is where I just want to leave it with you to say, think about your why. And as you listen tonight and as you leave tonight, take the message. Take the message of the opportunity economy. Take the message of moving forward, the new way forward. Take the message of the consequential election. So I thank you all. And we have speakers who would inspire us. And at some point in time tonight, you may have an opportunity probably to ask questions or to express your views. So Madam Fatmata and Dr. Sharif, I turn it over to you. And for all listening, RSVP, you would have a place at the Kamala Harris table, 47th President of these United States and the first female. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Bull. Go ahead, Famata.
Oh, no, go ahead. Fuad.
Well, obviously, Dr. Bull, you've said it all. Just to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, tonight we have, obviously, we have a guest speaker. I'm not sure if the Honorable Ambassador is here. Famata will get to introduce her. We have about 65 people on right now. The donation link will be on there. Like Dr. Bull says, our goal is to get 1,000 Africans in the diaspora to donate minimum $5, $10, $15, $20, $50, whatever you can afford. But we want to get a minimum of 1,000 people to donate in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And I know you guys are here. I know you guys are excited as we are. That's number one. Number two, we have about 65 people online right now. Our goal is to also go and get out the vote in 3 of the battleground states: Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. If anyone on here is in one of those 3 states, please contact myself or anyone here. Drop your email on the chat so we could be able to contact you. We're trying to put a group together so we could go and get out the vote in those states. Now, if you fall in any of the other battleground states, either Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, please feel free to let us know. We're trying to get a total of about 20 to 30 people so the campaign could reach out to you so they could design a way for you to get out the vote. So please, number one, donate. We want to have a donation about 1,000 people in the next couple of weeks. But tonight is a great night. Donate at least a minimum of $5 to $10 or $20 or $100, whatever you can afford before you leave this call tonight. And we're grateful for you to be here. And obviously, the donation that you make is done under Africans in the Diaspora. So we get credit that we have up to 1,000 people that donated X, Y, and Z from Africans in the Diaspora. So we are getting collectively credit for the donation you make. So we thank you for those who are rejoining us on our weekly calls. We thank you for those who are new. And like Fatmata says, we need help. We're all excited. We need technical help. People who have any help you think you could do. We need people to be part of our membership. So please feel free to join us and see. Let's all join together to make sure Kamala Harris wins this election on November 5th.
Thank you, Fuad. So we have a link for people to sign up to travel to one of the battleground states, or if you're already there, to sign up to say you're willing to help, whether it's canvassing, knocking on doors, whether it's phone banking, making calls, to ensure that we get to the voters in those battleground states and get them out to vote. We can either target the people themselves, meaning the Africans, continental Africans in these states, and or we get guided by the campaign on the ground. But we want to make sure that we are part of the solution. And that means organizing ourselves on the ground outside of these meetings and talking to each other. Okay. So I see our special guest. Let me do a name change. Is Ambassador ready so I can introduce you?
I'm trying to find the right place to sit my phone, but we can start.
Okay.
Yeah. How are you guys?
Good. Okay.
We are fine. We are excited to hear from you tonight, Madame Ambassador. We're
thank you.
excited.
So let's introduce the amazing Ambassador Arikana Chihambori. Everybody knows who she is, so she doesn't really need a lot of introduction. But we are very excited. I am personally excited because I have admired the ambassador for so many years. And while she was here in DC, we all felt very blessed and lucky that she was our ambassador representing the African Union. And even since she did not disappear, she has remained on the scene. She has remained our guiding light. She has remained the person you look at to see the directions as continental Africans and descendants of Africa in general, because she has this worldview of Pan-Africanism, and it's just amazing, and it always warms my heart when I get to be in the same space as her. And just want to introduce our own ambassador, Her Excellency Arikana Chunhombori Kwai.
Thank you, my sister, for the introduction. And thank you all as well for putting together this very important event, a very important gathering that is coming at an amazing time in our history, not only as Black women, but as women in general. So I want to take the moment to thank all the organizers for really thinking about what we can do to also send a very strong message to Kamala that we are with her. We are standing by her. We believe in her, and that we are going to do everything that we can to make sure that she is going to be the first Black woman to lead the most powerful nation on earth. I can't tell you how exciting this time is. Just yesterday, I was scanning through, surfing the internet, and there was a beautiful photo of Kamala hugging a group of little girls. I found myself having tears in my eyes, tears of joy, to think, for me as a doctor, when you look at just Kamala running as the candidate, the Democratic nominee for President of the United States, the healing that brings to us as Black women, the healing that comes to us as women in general around the world. It's something about being a woman that automatically makes you feel defeated even before your life begins, because the men are automatically ahead of us. And it's instilled in us, and it's passed to us from one generation to the other. But to be able to have somebody like Kamala take that position, I cannot explain to you the depth of the healing that's going to take place in Black communities around the world. Not just Black communities in America, but around the world. And also the healing that's going to take place from a very deep level in women. To be able to watch television and there is a woman that looks like you who is the leader of the most powerful country on earth. It is so refreshing. It's maybe just as well she's not having a very long campaign season. I don't know if I could take it, because I mean, the excitement is just too much. So in Kamala, we are looking at someone that is a Black woman that's going to show the world what a Black woman can do, what a Black woman is capable of doing. Her performance at the debate was a perfect example of how the Black woman will rise. You put her in the right place, she will rise. And that's exactly what Kamala has done. You give a Black woman $1 and she will feed a nation. Kamala is going to surprise all of us. Look at the ratings a month or two ago. She was rated, favorability was -14. Today, she's +3, the latest poll. Kamala is going to continue to surprise us. Kamala is going to move mountains. Kamala is not going to have the roadblocks that President Obama had. The things that Kamala can say and get away with, President Obama couldn't. Kamala is going to move mountains in a way no American president has. So for those who might be saying, well, you know, what about her policies? We got to look at it from every level. Policies are there to be discussed. Policy positions, they change. But for us as women, for us as Black women, we must stand together behind Kamala. I've had calls from some Africans who said, well, but she came to Africa, she was talking about gays and lesbians. Again, she was pushing somebody else's agenda. She was pushing somebody else's policies. And even if she was to do that, we have an opportunity that we also have our position as Africans and continue to challenge her, continue to work with her, continue to let her know when we disagree with her on certain policies, we let her know she's not perfect. She doesn't have all the answers. But first and foremost, we got to have a woman. This moment is calling for female energy. This moment is a time for females. Make no mistake about it. We need change, and that change is going to be brought by women. We cannot be in a place that having a Black woman, not just a woman, but a Black woman, be the leader of the most powerful country in the world, to be one of us. It's an opportunity that we absolutely cannot allow foolishness to come into play. It's a moment that we cannot allow the naysays to try and pull us down because of one issue versus another. For us, the number one issue is to have a woman being the president of the United States, to have a Black woman being the president of the United States. That should be our number one mission. She is going to be as good a leader as we make her. If she doesn't do well, it's because we did not stand behind her, in front of her, beside her, to make sure that she can become the best president she can ever be. So yes, I can't tell you how exciting this moment is. Let's not allow those who choose to keep us down to pull her down. Our main focus right now, this moment, the most powerful country on earth must be led by one of us. And if we miss this moment to elect Kamala as the next president of the United States, it would be a great loss, not only for us as Black women, a great loss, not only for us as women around the world, but I truly believe it will be a great loss for the world. Kamala is going to move mountains. Kamala is going to bring the needed change. Kamala is bold enough to say it like it is, call a spade a spade. She is the only one who's been able to stand up toe-to-toe with President Trump. So you know, Kamala is going to go toe-to-toe with all the world leaders. And you have seen how fearless she is. She's ready to tackle anybody. And so let's not be fooled or be lied to and be made to believe that she cannot lead the United States. Far from it. I personally believe Kamala is going to be the best president the United States has ever seen. I look forward to working with all of you, making sure that we elect Kamala the next president of the United States. I thank you.
Wow. Obviously, I'm not surprised, but I'm still overjoyed. This was great, amazing. Oh my gosh. The whole time you're speaking, I'm holding my breath and I'm just so full of joy and pride and your words. I always say from your lips to God's ears, let it be so. And I definitely agree. We have to work and we cannot miss this opportunity. If we do, we have no one to blame but ourselves. I completely agree with you 110%. Fuad, do you have anything to say?
All I can say to Madam Ambassador, thank you so much, number one, for taking time off your busy schedule to be here. But I'm not surprised you have endured support the African diaspora and on the continent. You are it's inspiration to all of us, and thank you for being here. I'm sure others will have questions for you, and I'm not surprised at all. You are an inspiration to us aspiring Pan-Africanists. Thank you, madam, and thank you. We're all excited to be here with you.
So, committee members, do anybody have any questions for the ambassador, for Madam Ambassador? Please raise your hand. Okay. Do we know, have we seen any hands up or ask Q&A questions? From the audience, anyone?
So guys, if you have any questions for the Honorable Ambassador, please type in on the Q&A. It will be read out and we'll be able to answer your questions.
Oh, Maureen has a hand up. Maureen? You're on mute, Maureen, if you're speaking and your camera's off.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Ambassador, for the great conversation. Thank you for being here. That was very encouraging. As a Black woman, it is very, very encouraging. So my question to you will be, even as we approach our fellow African communities and we get some questions that we're unable to answer. For example, in the issue that you mentioned about, how do I put it? Some questions that they don't align mostly with where we come from, such policies. How would you advise, for example, like us, maybe if you're a community leader, how would you advise somebody to approach such issues? Thank you.
What we have to realize when it comes to leadership is a very difficult needle to thread. Sometimes you have to look at priorities. We have to look at the end of the day, what matters most. This election season is not an easy one for a lot of people in this country. They're struggling with, for example, Republicans might say, I like this aspect of Donald Trump, but there's this aspect about him that I don't like. I like this about Kamala, and there's this about her that I don't like. But at the end of the day, you have to stop and say, on a scale of 1 to 10, based on your values, on what you consider to be the most important, let's take that issue of LGBTQ. Let's put it there on one hand. And on the other hand, you have a Black woman who's going to bring about the healing by virtue of her being in that position to see little girls who can look up to her and say, now they can honestly say, when I grow up, I'm going to be the next president of the United States, and mean it and believe that they can actually do it. For me, when I look at the bigger picture, it doesn't matter. I've often said the issue of gay and lesbians, Kamala can go to Africa and talk till the cows come home. The African leaders are going to do what they want anyway. The African people are going to do what they want anyway. She doesn't vote in Africa. She can come and say whatever she wants. The Africans are going to do what Africans want to do. So are you going to not vote for her because of an issue that is such a non-issue in Africa? We've had gays and lesbians growing up. We knew people who looked very feminine. We had women who looked very masculine. I remember having women who lived together. We called them spinsters. It was a non-issue. Nobody cared. Are you with me? So I have even said it in public forum to say she was ill-advised. When she went to Africa, I said it openly, she was ill-advised. She went to Zambia and was pushing for gay and lesbian agenda when next door Malawians, hundreds of Malawians had just died from global warming and the floods. She said nothing. But is that going to stop me from voting for her? No, because I know the bigger picture. The bigger picture is, what does this mean to me as a Black woman? To me, what does it mean to my grandkids? What does it mean to us as women in general? We have been the underdogs. Kamala has shattered every possible glass ceiling on earth. So let's look at what matters at the end of the day. Don't allow them to pigeonhole you. Oh, what about this issue? What about this issue? You will never find a leader that is perfect. the question is, when it comes to things that matter to you as a Black person, as a Black woman, don't you think she is going to really move mountains for us? Even if she doesn't move any mountains policy-wise, but just having her there for me is so liberating. It is healing. It is empowering. And then we can work with her. We talk to her. We push the agenda. We help her become a better leader that she can ever be. But let's look at the bigger picture, what matters most. When you look at the Democrats, the Republicans, they're willing to ignore a lot of the things that President Trump said, because their agenda, for some, is white supremacy. Their agenda is about preserving their race. That's their agenda. That's what matters. There was a video that was going around. The guy said, we know he's this, we know he's that, but he's pushing the white male agenda. That's why we're going to get voted for him. That's for them. That's what matters. Are you with me? So stop and think about, what does really this mean? What does it mean to me? Let's look at our history. We've come a long way. Can you imagine? Think of our ancestors, the former slaves, how they suffered in this country. Can you imagine how they will be looking at this moment to have a Black woman become the president of the United States? I live on a slave plantation. The other day, I was just sitting at my backyard in the evening, and I couldn't help it because I was told that there are slaves buried in my backyard. It was a very big plantation. And I was just thinking to myself, if only those slaves could come to life today, if they could see what's happening today, if they could wake up January 20, we're going to be inaugurating Kamala. I mean, you talk about them doing flips in their graves. That's what I'm talking about. To say, yes, it might have taken us a long time, but we finally did it. We finally did it. We came together and we did it. So I just want you to think about what matters most. What does it mean to you? And in the bigger picture, LGBTQ, it doesn't matter. That's, how does it affect you? But having Kamala, having a Black woman as president of the United States, that is huge. So prioritize what really matters. There will be many who will try to pigeonhole you and make you just base your decisions on one minor policy issue. Policy positions change all the time. This issue is asking for you to rise above the chaff and talk about what really matters, and don't forget our history. Do not forget where we have been, and don't forget where we need to be as women. And you have seen it yourself. Kamala is a fighter, and she'll continue to be a better fighter depending on how we work with her. Policy positions change. This is a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity to have a Black woman lead the most powerful country on earth. Don't forget that.
Yeah. Dr. Bull?
I mean, thank you, Excellency Ambassador. I am moved and very inspired by your presentation, the response to the question. As you were speaking, I was asking myself questions. And I think these are questions that we need to ask in this moment. And let us think about our continent. And we ask ourselves, who is likely of the two candidates to address a dictator in Africa that wants to undermine democracy? Who's more likely to do that? Is it Kamala Harris or Donald Trump? And I know you have the answer. Dictatorship would spread in Africa. The constitutions would be undermined because they know now that somebody on the global throne supports dictators. And what would that mean for Africa? The big picture. Who is likely to invest in Africa? Who is likely to give aid to Africa? Who is likely to bring Africans to the table to have a conversation? Who is likely to expand visas to African nations? Who is likely to give scholarships and promote STEM education? Who is likely to address issues of health and infant mortality and all of those things? We have to think how we could get to the table to be advocates and to understand how the past relates to the present and the big picture, as the Madam Ambassador has stated. Because we cannot lose sight and get pigeonholed or allow people to drag us where we don't want to go. And when we look back, we have forgotten about Africa. We cannot. And that is why this moment, this Wednesday meetings, is a reminder of our collective synergy, the synergy that we bring. What we're doing, we have not done forever. We've never done this as Africans. We've never come to the table to say, let us support what is going on, to understand exactly how we can collaborate. So this is really, really big. This is really, really big, my people. And that is why I say it's the most consequential election of our lifetime, because it's important that we do this now. This 45 days, it's almost like 45 years. We cannot turn the hands of the clock. We cannot fall asleep at the wheel. We cannot say we are not going to RSVP. So my folks, we need to be at this table. And Madam Ambassador is giving us the pathway, the vision to be at this table, and we must take it with both hands. And we cannot look back. It's the new way forward. We don't want to go back, and we cannot go back, and we are not going to go back. And we are going to fight till the end, because when we fight,
We win.
and we're going to fight.
Thank you.
I am willing, and I know Madam Ambassador is willing, and all of you here today, you are fighting. And there are many ways you could fight. Let's go through the RSVP again. The R in the RSVP at the Harris White House is to register to vote and encourage others to register to vote. The S is to sponsor, put your money where your mouth is and your future. Because it is important that we sponsor every which way. We need at least 1,000. That number is important for us, Africans in the diaspora, because we're going to present it at the table that, yes, there are all kinds of groups, but we, the Africans in the diaspora, we came together. 1,000 of us. With all the meetings we have, we say, yeah, we are ready to support this ticket. And V, we're going to vote as if our lives depend on it. And not only are you going to vote early. North Carolina, we start October 17th. I'm going to get it and done with that day. I'll be first in line so I could drag others in on the 18th, the 19th, the 20th. Every day, make sure you take somebody to early voting. Dedicate yourself. You could do a one-man campaign by driving people to go vote. And P, promote, fight. Let people understand what this means for Africa. People need to understand the implications, the global implications for NATO, for Ukraine, for world peace, and everything relating to Africa. I mean, if people are willing to sacrifice Ukraine and Europe, could you imagine where Africa is on the menu? We are right at the top of this menu that nobody wants to care for. They're going to dissect us, make us barbecue. But we want to be at the table and not at the menu. We cannot. So I'm going to turn it over again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bull. So we have a couple of questions for the ambassador. I'm not sure if she can answer these because these are, well, I guess the opinion questions. So somebody asked, Madam Ambassador, which of Vice President Kamala Harris's, what areas do you think Kamala Harris still needs to address to expand her base within the African communities?
Well, in the African community, already she's hitting on some issues that are going to address the issues to do with disparity. For example, the $6,000 towards childcare for all women giving birth to get that $6,000, the $50,000 tax credit for new businesses. There was one other one. Let's see, new businesses, childcare. There was another $25,000. Was that for first-time home buyers? Yes. So if you look at those three alone, those are the areas that impact Black people the most. We're not able to start a new business because we don't have the initial funds. Giving birth is a serious issue that keeps us from being able to go to work and get back into the workforce quickly. And of course, we can't afford the down payment to own a home. Those three areas alone, if you look at it right from the get-go, there are areas that have never been looked into, and yet there are areas that are pivotal to economic development. She is addressing issues of disparity. Some of you may not be aware. She was responsible for a bill that gave billions of dollars to Black farmers. She was able to make a case that they were discriminated against, between a certain period. She understands the wrongs committed against Black people. And in her own quiet way, even as vice president, if you look at some of her policies, she has supported policies that are pro-Black. The child tax credit, the business tax credit, and the housing deposit for first-time home buyers. Those are huge drivers of economic development. She has a lot more policies that are coming up. She's going to push for the education bill, forgiveness of student loans. That is another huge one that keeps the average, even some young men, and especially young men, they feel like they can't get married because they can't afford a woman because they still owe a lot of money. It takes the average student 10 to 15 years to finish paying the college debt. So when you look at those four alone, if she can push them through, you're talking huge, huge improvement in the quality of life, the ability to save money. If you look at how she's going to challenge businesses price gouging, again, issues that are happening every day, and we are not in a position to realize that every little bit helps. We're spending more in the grocery stores. The taxes that the other side is talking about, the tariffs the other side is talking about, supposedly will make the companies pay. The companies just pass the tariffs right back to you, the consumer, in form of taxes. Harris is looking at all those games that are being played to keep us from having a leg up. She's not only doing it for Black people, she's doing it for all Americans. I like how practical she is. She's approaching, if you think about it, running a country is actually very easy. If you can just focus on, if you are a man or a woman, what does my husband want? What does my wife want? What do my children want? What do I need to do to put a roof over my head and the head of my children? What do I need to do to make it easier for me to have food on my table, to be able to go from point A to point B, to go to work? If you can just think of the things that you need to do to make your household livable and progress, and then multiply that by millions. Because what you want in your home is exactly what the neighbor and millions other Americans want. Kamala is coming with a very practical, refreshing approach to the problems that really should be solved. this issue of saying we have no money, that's nonsense. If you were to calculate, you can do your own numbers and say to yourself, how many homes are bought in the United States? You can Google it. And of those, how many are new first-time home buyers? Multiply by 25. It's not much money. America can afford that. If you look at it and say, how many new businesses are started every year in America? Multiply by 50,000. It's not a lot of money. How many babies are born in America every year? Multiply by 6,000. It's not much money. It can be done. The question is, why hasn't it been done? It's going to take a woman who's going to look at it from a very practical point of view. Like I started with saying, you give a Black woman $1, they will feed a nation. Is that practical approach? It's an approach that can only come from a woman to say this is nonsense. At one point, we were spending $8 billion a month between Iraq and Afghanistan. And yet, we can't take care of what Kamala is talking about is a fraction of what was spent in Afghanistan and Iraq. A minuscule. So the money is there. The question is, are we willing to do the right thing? Are we willing to have policies that really make a difference in the everyday lives of people? I see Kamala bringing that practicality to this country. Basically saying, this is what we can do to make Americans a little bit more comfortable, not just continue to have policies that continue to make the filthy rich even more comfortable. I see that practical approach to her policies if she's to become the next president of the United States. And that sort of practical approach can only come from a woman. I'm sorry to say, there may be men in here, but I just find her very refreshing in her, the practical approach with which she's approaching the position and the policy positions that she's taking and how practical and realistic they are.
Thank you, Ambassador. Do you have time to answer maybe one more question?
Yes, I do. I'm all yours.
Okay. Somebody asked a question. Somebody asked the question that they said they traveled to Massachusetts, from Massachusetts to canvass in rural Pennsylvania. And as immigrants canvassing, how do they advocate for the plight of their people while also acknowledging the concerns of the opposing voices in a diplomatic way?
Okay, I don't think I quite understand the question. Somebody traveled from Massachusetts
to Pennsylvania to help canvass, and I guess a Trump stronghold. And one of the issues that came up was concerns about illegal immigration and wanting to get some kind of feedback on how to handle those kind of situations as an immigrant knocking on somebody's door who's concerned about immigration.
Okay.
If you have an answer, if you don't, you don't.
Saying someone is canvassing, but they're an illegal immigrant.
They're an immigrant like myself. I go knock on door. The concerns of the person who opens the door is about illegal immigration, and I'm an immigrant. How do I diplomatically address that issue with this person at the door?
What kind of a question would that person ask? For example, give me an example of what question they would ask about immigration.
They just said they have a concern about illegal immigration. That's the question.
You don't want immigrants in this country? Is that what you're saying? That's what.
Especially those that eat the dogs. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, that one actually it's an opportunity to educate.
Exactly.
For example, the issue of Haitians eating dogs and cats in Springfield. It's an opportunity to let them know that, did you know that actually Springfield did ask for the Haitians to come to Springfield?
That's correct.
Springfield had a serious age gap. Springfield had issues. Employers could not find employees. They simply did not have the workers. And today, those workers are very happy that Haitians are there. They're volunteering to pick up Haitians. Americans, white Americans, are volunteering to pick up Haitians who can't drive every day, take them to work. They're so grateful to have them. Every day, they're talking about how hardworking and trustworthy and family-oriented Haitians are. and how happy they are to have them as their neighbors. Did you know that? So use it as an opportunity. Do your homework. Anticipate the questions that are going to come. A lot of them, they are actually very ignorant. I bought this house. Like I told you, it was a former slave plantation. And unknown to me, I just bought it at an auction. I really didn't know the history of it initially. And it turned out that the gentleman I bought the house from, he had lost everything. He was a commercial builder. He had lost everything during the recession. He had nowhere to go. So I just said, no, you're welcome to stay. And so we became friends because he stayed in the house for another 3 months before he finally found some place to go. And I would stop by the house and we would talk. But he started telling me, and just basically confessing, he said, Doc, I was an ambassador back then. He said, Doc, the day that you bought the house was the worst day of my life. He said, it was bad enough for me to lose my house to the bank, but for the house to be bought by a Black woman, that was the ultimate insult. He said, but now fast forward, I am so glad that you bought the house. He said, because if a white man, I'm just quoting what he said to me. He said, if a white man had bought the house, we closed at 2 p.m., they were supposed to be out of the house at 5 p.m. and they had nowhere to go. He said it gets even worse. If he himself had bought the house, he wouldn't do to me what I have done to him. He went on to tell me that he has known more about Black people in the 3 months that he has known me, and that he has met more interesting Black people in his entire 55 years of life. He said, we white people, and I'm quoting him again, he said, we white people, we lie to each other about who Black people are. We tell each other that we know Black people. But through you, in the past 3 months, I've known more about Black people, and I have a completely different perspective of Black people since I've met you in 3 years. It's nothing in 3 months. It's nothing I said. It was through my actions. And so whenever we encounter people who are bigotry and people who are racist, it's an opportunity to educate. A lot of them are truly ignorant. They don't know any better. So you take the high road, you take the higher position and use it as an opportunity to educate, to let them know that no, a lot of them really, you got to forgive them because they don't know. They stick together and they lie to each other about Black people. They lie to each other about immigrants. They need to know the truth. So while you're canvassing, take the opportunity. Don't let them intimidate you. You just keep your smile and say, did you know? I am so glad you asked me that question, and find a way of bringing them in and start that healthy conversation. The guy I bought the house from, he was a bless his heart, he's late now. He was a self-proclaimed racist. But the 3 months that I knew him, when he called me sister, I can tell he truly meant it. We became like, brother and sister. We called each other brother and sister. And he would say, the weekends that you don't come to the house, I miss you. I look forward to the weekends that you're coming to see me. Completely turned this racist white man. It's not that he was a racist. He just didn't know any better. He grew up surrounded by people who feed each other lies. When you run into an opportunity of a racist individual, it is an opportunity to educate. They don't know any better. And don't take it personally.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. On that note,
Wow.
that is such a perfect note to end this. But people may have questions later. If you have the time, we have one more guest, Councilmember Wanika Fisher, who's here to also speak. We would love for you to stick around if you have the time. But if you don't, obviously we understand. But we wanted to bring on Councilmember Wanika Fisher to give us a few words. Councilmember Fisher is a council member at Prince George's County Council here in the state of Maryland. She is a child of African immigrants, and I'll let her tell the story because it sounds better when she does it. It's a very interesting and beautiful story of her parents and her African heritage. and she's going to give us a few words about this election and Vice President Kamala Harris. Ms. Councilmember Wanika Fisher.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me, Fatmata, okay?
We
Okay.
can-
Thank you. And it's such an honor to be here, especially with you, Madam Ambassador. We've met a couple of times over the years, and I really enjoyed your remarks. To everyone on the call, my name is Wanika Fisher. I'm a county councilwoman here in Prince George's County, Maryland. Some people know Prince George's County. We are known for a lot of things, but one of the big things is that we are the home of the biggest Black middle class, people would say, in the United States and the world when it comes to that income gap. I represent a district that borders DC, and prior to being a council member, I was a state representative. I still am, and I'm working on getting someone younger elected, but I'm also the youngest Black woman elected in Maryland at my level and on the state level. I'm a first generation American, like some of you and like many of your children. I was born here in the US, but my dad is a Nigerian Yoruba from Lagos. And my mom is Asian South African. So my family left India probably around 350 years ago. And so my mom, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, and my great-great-grandparents were all born in Durban, South Africa. And came, through the diamond mining and everything else. And my grandfather was a big organizer for the South Asian community to support the ANC during the apartheid struggle. And my uncle was subsequently killed there due to my family's activism and involvement. And then my mom and my grandparents fled to the UK and then eventually to the United States. So what's cool is I'm just like Kamala. I'm Black. My dad's Black, my mom's Indian, but I always say I'm Kamala dipped in Africa. That's kind of how I describe myself, because I have very strong African roots on both of my parents' side. And then I was born here in the United States in New York. I love service. And I think as something in the African community that we struggle with, even though we all love home and we follow politics back home and we send money home, and home for us, whatever country you hail from in the continent, it's in our blood. It means so much to us. But the reality that can be hard and that our community is struggling with is that we're here and we're not going back. We're not going home. No matter how much we say we're going to move back and do this. And I've got friends that have been building a house back home for like 40 years, still not done. I mean, your children, your money, everything, you're here in the US, right? And so sometimes we have to lean into that reality and get way more politically involved, engaged, and educated about what's down the street versus what's almost sometimes a 10 to 24-hour plane ride away. And as much as, as a local elected, as much as the continent means so much to me, and I do follow, and, my parents have a house that we have in South Africa and different things, we're still very present here because we know, and as the ambassador and the other speakers I was listening to talked about, what happens here in the US will impact back home in a large way. So ignoring it and not leaning into it is actually not helping our brothers and sisters back home. So for me, I think that is so very important. And I know I want to thank Famata for her leadership. And I know she wanted to talk to me about voter engagement, but I don't know, Famata, if you want me to stop here and take questions, or how you wanted me to go from this point. Sorry.
No, talk about voter engagement.
Okay. And I think voter engagement is so important, not just for, I think you all have done a great job covering Kamala's win. I was one of her first endorsements in Maryland in 2019. I was a Kamala delegate for a convention, and then I went to Joe. I'm known as the Kamala of Maryland. I love Kamala, but local races really matter. And for those of you that live in Maryland or you have friends in Maryland, our Senate, Kamala also can't do all of the things that Madam Ambassador spoke about, the $50,000 for businesses, the $6,000 for childcare, without a Senate. Let me just be real clear. Without a U.S. Senate that is going to support her agenda. And Maryland is in play in a huge way this year, like never we have before. My current county executive, Angela Alsobrooks, is the Democratic nominee for the Senate. She's endorsed by so many people, our governor, all of our congressmen, Jamie Raskin, Kamala Harris herself, Hillary Clinton, the whole thing. And her Republican opponent is our former governor, Larry Hogan. Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump want Larry Hogan to win so that they will have a split vote and they will have a Senate majority and stop all of Kamala's plans and the Democrats' plans and very, very important judgeships, including the Supreme Court. It is critical for our community to not just register to vote, whatever party they want to be. It's a general, so I'm not even getting into the party politics. Whatever party they want, they got to be registered and they need to click down the entire ballot. And particularly in Maryland, our Senate race is going to affect and impact in a great way how successful a vice president and hopefully the next president of the United States, Kamala Harris, will be in her role. So we need to send Angela Alsobrooks to the Senate. And when people talk about, oh, Larry Hogan wasn't that bad, he was an okay governor. What's so interesting about me and what I talk about on the campaign trail is I worked with both Governor Hogan and County Executive Alsobrooks. I was a state rep with Hogan, and I've been a current council member with County Executive Alsobrooks. I can speak about them both personally. Everything that Larry Hogan has succeeded with, Democrats had to override his vetoes. Everything. Everything in his budget was wrong, we had to fix. The only reason why Maryland survived 8 years of Larry Hogan is because we have a Democratic-controlled legislature, period. That man didn't accomplish a thing. Name me one business that he championed. Nothing. Just because he's a nice guy and he's Republican light and he's not spewing racist and crazy stuff doesn't mean he won't vote with racist and crazy. Okay? All Mitch McConnell, I say Mitch wants to put us in a ditch. That's all he wants to do. Okay? And he's going to do that with Larry Hogan. So it is so important to vote down ballot. I wanted to just highlight Angela and why that's important. Your local races like myself, county council, state representative, state delegate, the more local you go, the more it impacts you. We also have sitting judges on the ballot in Maryland. Who's on the bench really matters. And so when we talk about voter registration and voter education, our community really needs help in focusing that the presidential is critical, but you're in there anyway. Have a party. Keep voting down because it's extremely important for all of these folks to win. And I will tell you, when it comes to the federal level, for those of us on the call that are a bit more internationally focused as well, those U.S. Senate seats matter more than anything else. She can't do anything without a Senate. That's why half the time when people say, oh, well, I didn't see Kamala when she was vice president. Guess what? She was in D.C. voting and splitting all the votes because we didn't have a clean majority. She couldn't be everywhere. She had to be here to cast the 51 vote all the time. So it's so important. I'm happy to take questions. I'm so honored to be here with you all tonight. I think I've been very emotional during this African Heritage Month because when I first got into politics, you know, people would be confused about what I was, who I was, everything. And to see my community show up and show out just really fills my heart with joy. I have always been, you know, I can look like many cultures, and I'm always very clear about who I am and where I came from with my voters and with other politicians. So I just want to say, before we wrap up, how proud I am of each and every one of you for stepping up and having a voice and being active, because it really means the world. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. You know, I always say I appreciate you. And I so appreciate you tonight. And we have a couple of hands up, and I will start with the members of the committee. I think I saw Ike's hand up first. Go ahead, Ike.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Madam Ambassador, thank you for that powerful speech that you gave. I had a question for you, but I'll leave it to later since you're going to hang around. This is for Councilwoman Fisher. I know not everyone on the platform is actually based in the PG or Maryland area. This group is across the whole US. But the question I have for you is particular to Maryland. I understand personally the importance of voting for Angela Alsobrooks for the Senate. The question I have for you is the challenge we face when we talk about her is her position when it comes to the African community and diaspora in the PG County and in Maryland generally. You don't have to worry about trying to convince me. I'm convinced. How do you think is the best way, or what can you give to us to speak to folks who don't see her as pro-African or African friendly, generally speaking, since you're very close to her? Thanks.
Yes, I would say you have to really get educated on the things that she has done. So under County Executive Elsa Brooks in our county in Prince George's, she's the first county executive to create the Office of Multicultural Affairs. She has the head of that office is an African man that she put into place. She has recognized African Heritage Month before the governor. So she's been doing that since her first term. So I was like a state rep. So maybe 2019, 2020. If you look at County Executive Elsa Brooks and her laser focus on MBE contracts with African businesses, you look at who Prince George's County used in our PPE during COVID, who we're using on contracts now. She has been dedicated to making sure she builds African wealth in the county. 40% of small businesses in Prince George's County are African owned and operated. County Executive Elsa Brooks speaks that to truth all the time. I was just she works very hard with the Office of Multicultural Affairs and Economic Development. Maybe it was a room of 20 to 30 African business owners understanding and getting taught, about the process of being a county contractor. She's bringing the education to African businesses on how to get business with the local government. And I think she's going to do that same thing when it comes to big federal contracts. Let's look to the future. That's what she did. She's going to do the same thing when it comes to federal contracts for African businesses and our African families going forward, especially when it comes to Prince George's County getting the FBI and the contracts that will be flowing through Prince George's locally with permitting for that and the federal government. That's going to make a lot of our families and African businesses better off. So that's what I would say to them about her. As well, we have you just put in line Prince George's County African Diaspora. It'll plop right up. We have an amazing African Diaspora board. My pastor, Pastor Colby from Redeemer Lutheran Church, Redeemer, is a member of that board and does a lot of work. I go to a super mega African church, so we're very engaged with health fairs, community fairs, and then the other thing I'll add is Angela has supported pro-immigrant legislation that is African focused. When I was a state representative and she was county council member, I won't get too technical with you, but there's a part of our criminal law, because we're short on time, that really hurt African and Caribbean immigrants than the Latinos. And I represent a very Latino district. When I tell you the Latino advocates, and I love them, they came and testified, they sent a letter, but they didn't send the cavalry like they usually do for their issues, right? This particular law was hurting Black immigrants more. Angela testified, she helped me, and I changed that piece of law before I left office as a delegate in my last year, and then I came onto council. So I don't want to bore you with the technicalities, but it would lead Black immigrants into deportation, that law. And it took me 5 years, University of Maryland Law School as my partner to change that, and Angela was there neck and shoulder with me on that bill. So I think I've spoken to her record with our community, and I think she knows what our community is focused on. Our community, we don't want a handout. We want opportunity.
That's correct.
Okay, we want opportunity, and she knows that. My parents are small business owners. She knows that, and I think she's going to be laser focused on how our businesses can prosper. Because when African businesses prosper, Prince George's County prospers. She has seen it. She feels it in the pockets of our county coffers. And she's going to know when African business prosper in Maryland for our whole state, the entire state will prosper just like our county does.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. Appreciate that response. Thank you.
Thank you so much for an excellent question that you answered there. Obviously, at the end, just the same question goes back. Do we think Donald Trump is better for Africans versus Kamala Harris? Do we think Larry Hogan is better as a senator versus Ostabrook? Ostabrook obviously is going to be the better choice for Africans. We just need to re-educate ourselves, and I'm glad you've really shed some light on that. Again, as per protocol, please, if you have any questions, drop your questions on the Q&A. We still have the ambassador here. She's gracious enough to hang out with us. Let's have those questions in the Q&A. After she leaves, we'll be able to open an open forum so we can have this dialogue with ourselves. So if you have any questions, please drop in those questions in there, and we'll be able to answer some of your questions. Thank you. Famata, go ahead, please.
Okay. Thank you so much, Monica. That was just amazing. That was so great. It was really thankful that you were here to lay that out. And you give me some tidbit. I didn't know about the bill. Now I have something even more to talk about.
That's
I can
good.
talk about everything else. Like, I know all about the fact that for as long as we had county executives there, I had conversations with the previous county executive, because we have the African Affairs Advisory Group here in Montgomery County, had conversations about it before with the previous one. It didn't happen, right? She came in and she created the African Diaspora Committee, I think it's called. And now they have something similar to what we have in Montgomery County, the African Affairs Advisory Group that we've had for the past, I guess, 16 years or whatever it is. But Angela Ostabrook is the right person for the seat. We all know it. And I think we have to get out of our own way to make sure that we're properly represented in the Senate by someone who actually cares about us as Marylanders and as Africans and as Black people. We cannot, I don't think there's anyone who can concretely say what Larry Hogan has actually done other than business was good. And as council member just told you, none of what you think you got because he was governor would have happened if not but for the fact that it's a Democratic state delegate. And they're making the laws and they're putting them in place, and they're overriding his vetoes, or they're passing laws that there's such a huge margin that he knows he cannot veto it, so he just lets it go into law without doing anything. So it's not him doing it. Okay. We have the form in the chat. Please go to that form. Click on it, sign up. The DMV, Maryland, we're adopting Pennsylvania. If you want to go with us, please sign in on that form. If you're from anywhere else in the country, if you live in any of the 7 battleground states, please sign up so we can connect this group of people with the campaign on the ground. We are at the point in this whole process where it's ground game, where the stretch, where we're here, and we need to get to voters. We need to make phone calls. We need to knock on doors. And if anyone has any further questions for an ambassador, please put it in the chat. If you don't, I would invite the ambassador to give us a final word, a closing word, so she can go about and have a good evening. I don't see any more questions for the ambassador in the chat. So, Madam Ambassador, if you have closing words for us, then we can move on with the rest of the program, the few minutes we have left.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to just give a shout out to Congresswoman Fisher for a wonderful presentation, and of course for representing us well in Prince George's County, and of course in Maryland as a whole. It's really, I want to let you know that I also consider Durban as home. I have a home there in South Africa. I have a hotel in South Africa. And so when you are talking about Durban, and I do believe, just to give you a little bit of history, we have lots and lots and lots of Indians, all of KwaZulu-Natal. Durban is just, there's lots of Indians in Durban. They were shipped from India to come and work in the sugar plantations, which of course, KwaZulu is known for the sugar plantations. They didn't think Black people were smart enough to work in the sugar plantations. So they buzzed in, they shipped in the Indians, across the Indian Ocean to KwaZulu-Natal to come and work in the sugar plantations. So I feel that connection with you, Representative Fisher, with your parents being from Durban. I also claim Durban, South Africa as home. I must say, I feel grateful. I feel excited to be part of this conversation and many other conversations that are taking place in support of Kamala. This moment is a moment that we must really understand it for what it is. It is a moment that we absolutely cannot allow to pass without making sure that we take Kamala to the finish line. We'd like to thank President Biden for the trust she put in Kamala, for appointing her as his vice president, and now supporting her and endorsing her as the Democratic candidate for President of the United States. Let's not forget our history. And I'm going to keep going back to that, because I keep getting lots of questions and comments and naysays about Kamala and why she's not going to do anything for us. Look at the alternative. Look at the option. If you can look at the option and clearly think that Kamala is not the right person for the moment, you may need to think again. In terms of whether or not she would be good for Africa, at least you have someone that we can talk to. Where we fall short as Africans is that we don't have our own policy positions. We come to the United States and ask the Americans, what do you want us to do? What is your position on us? No, we should be coming to the United States with a policy position. So when Africans don't benefit from engaging with the US, it's really our fault. Because we need to come with a policy position and say, this is what we want, and we are going to engage in this manner. And if they don't agree, if the US does not agree with Africa, you walk away. Because you don't have to put yourself in a subservient position and expect to be spoon-fed. So our failure to effectively engage the United States is because we as Africans, we don't have a policy position of our own that we must stand on. And as we come to engage the world leaders, they must also know clearly what is our policy position. So I do believe that any policy positions that you might have issues with Kamala, they're policy positions that need to be challenged, and they need to be challenged with facts. Just to the same extent that we're saying, if you're going to defend Angela Osbrook, you need to understand her fully, understand her policy positions. And so if you're going to canvass for Kamala, also understand her and understand her fully. The woman has done a lot for the Black community, but those who want to take her down will try to tell you otherwise. Understand Kamala, understand her policy positions, but also know that she's only human and policy positions change, and we need to have someone that we can work with, that we can also make sure that they understand when we are in pain. But I can also tell you that she feels our pain because she's been there. She understands the Black community. And so let me conclude by saying we need Kamala in the White House. There's just no two ways about it. And as men, we ask you to support us in having a woman leading the most powerful country in the world. And of course, as women, we don't really have a choice. We've got to support Kamala. The alternative is just not acceptable. That's my opinion. People are going to have their own positions. But think about your daughter, think about your grandchildren, think about your nieces, and what having a powerful woman stand in front of the world, and pardon my language, but I'm going to say it because I feel like saying it. Have her stand in front of the world and kick ass. It's such a beautiful thing, and it'll make us all very proud. So let's get Kamala to the White House. That's all I can say. For me, I am just like Representative Fisher. I am so full of joy. Every time Kamala is on television, I can't turn off the TV until she's done talking. And that's how excited I am about Kamala. I don't get excited very easily, but Kamala is really getting me very excited. So let's do everything we can to get a Black woman lead the most powerful country on earth, and let her do her thing. And I know I have every faith in her that Kamala is going to surprise us, and Kamala is going to bring and deliver visible results that will bring true change, not only to us today, but this generation and generations to come. Thank you so very much for having me. Continue the good work, and let's go vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Let's give the ambassador a big hand of applause for her leadership and her enduring support for the African diaspora and for the continent. Madam, thank you so much. We continue to pray for you to good health and long life. We're, like I said, I'm indeed a student, a Pan-African student. I follow you, and thank you for all what you're doing for the continent and what you're doing for Africans here in the diaspora. Thank you, guys. Let's give her a big hand of applause, please.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Councilmember Fisher? What? I see a hand. Edith Nwosu?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. Hi, good evening, everyone. How are you today?
We're doing fine. We're excited.
Yes, God bless you all. I just wanted to, I've been listening and I just wanted to formally introduce myself. Thank you all for taking the time to coordinate this meeting and this gathering. Obviously, the time that is very important in terms of, you know, everything. So just to share a bit about myself, I am an Igbo Nigerian, born and raised in the Maryland location. I'm currently in the Prince George's County location of the state of Maryland. My mother, Edith Sr., actually invited me to this community. She may have introduced herself before, but definitely as a woman of Christ, and a woman that understands that politics is extremely important in terms of our rights, and also being a business owner myself and listening to the different challenges in the community as I really focus on community transformation through my media digital marketing solutions company, but understand that there's a lot of different improvements, but there's necessary change that still needs to be made. Listening to everyone speak and share their thoughts definitely puts a lot in perspective for myself, and I'm sure everybody here that's listening. So I definitely would like to see how I can be of service to you all. I think my mother had shared with me, I was in a different meeting last week, but my mother had shared with me that you all are in need of services. So whenever the appropriate time is, I would love to, you know, speak with you all whenever that time is appropriate. And I'm definitely all about community transformation, as well as those that are in my growing network, and listening to everything that you all touch bases on. You know, we're in the last quarter of the year, with it also being a time for, you know, politics and things like that. We still as individuals, what we commit to the community carries huge weight. So I myself have definitely experienced quite a few things that has to do with our law, has to do with a lot of different things like that. So definitely the decisions that we make as a whole from this present moving forward is extremely important. So God bless you all. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, and I'll definitely send an email over to you all to see how I can be of service to you guys moving forward.
Wow. Edith, thank you so much. You've said it all. And please, we're expecting that email from you. We're looking for to expand our membership. As you could tell, Africans in the diaspora are Africans from all over on the continent, from Sierra Leone, Cameroon, Ethiopia, Guinea, Kenya. We're all over, and we're all over on the in the US as well. So this is family. Come on board and help all you can. Famata, you want to just address anything on that at all?
No, just I'll look up your email. We're gonna look up, but thank you so very much. But if anyone does not have any questions for Councilmember Fisher, I know she has a lot on her plate and we don't want to hold her here if nobody has any further questions for her, so she can go on with the rest of her evening. It's 10 p.m. Anybody? I know some people may want to stay and have a conversation. If you do, that's fine. We can stay for another maybe 20 minutes or so max. Jonas Lima, do you have a question for the council member?
Yes. Good evening to everybody. My name is Jonas Lima. I'm actually a former chairman for the community of Beninese in the United States. I want to ask the councilman, I'm proud of you to be in the government of PG County. I'm in Bassville myself. So I just want to ask you, where is the District 2 and how do you go about being associated with African affair in the county?
Thank you so much for that question, Mr. Lima. My district is right under yours. So Beltsville is, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Beltsville
Yes.
is Councilmember Tom Dernoga, and I'm Hyattsville, I border Beltsville, like his district, like I'm Buck Lodge, Adelphi,
Okay.
Langley Park, City of Hyattsville, Brentwood, North Brentwood, Mount Rainier, Chilham, Avondale, Lewisdale, I think I'm forgetting one more. Oh yes, Cool Spring and Adelphi. So I'm the corner that borders Montgomery County and DC. And I actually, if I could ask Fatmata to share it, I put the link. It's Prince George's County Department /Department Multicultural Affairs African Diaspora. I put the link in the chat. She can maybe directly send that to you. And then I'll also send you the direct contact of Miss Sylvia, who's our African liaison, and you can directly email her and get totally plugged in. And I wanted to let anyone know, you all can email me or DM me on Instagram or anything like that, and I'm happy to connect with you and invite you to things, or if you invite me to things like Fatmata just did today, I do my best to make myself available.
All right. Great.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Councilmember. What can we do as this group to support you, support your what you're doing in PG County?
Thank you so much. I would say the first thing and I say this at all the things that I do, because anyone on this call, you are dedicated. It's 10 o'clock on a work night. Y'all have kids, things to do. You all are dedicated. Don't leave here and don't tell 3 of your friends that you met me or saw me about your interaction. You know, sometimes we do things and we forget to actually continue to talk about what we do to people that aren't on this call. Like, it's great for the people on this call to hang out and chat, but you got to talk to your friend that would not be on a Zoom about African engagement and be like, I met this girl who's the first African elected to our state legislature, Wanika, and say something. So that is helpful. Following me online, you know, so you can see what I'm doing is helpful. Obviously, like all politicians, donate early and often. Okay, I've got some recurring donors. Definitely donate if you can, to, you know, campaigns and doing things in my community. But just showing up and engaging with me, inviting me to things in your community is really helpful. I never know what connection, what person I'm going to meet who's either going to support me or support an initiative. Like, you know, Fatmata has been a leader. I've known Fatmata for a long time. And before I was even elected, when I was a staffer and I was a young attorney coming up, she has always been just a steadfast leader and resolute. And she invited me here tonight, even though I have like a crazy schedule. I was like, okay, I'm gonna fit it in right before I go to Korea. I'm gonna log on. And then she made sure to text me because I'm so busy to make sure I was on. So, you know, inviting me to anything like this is helpful because it lets other people know I exist. And you know, I tell people all the time, I don't follow anything. I don't understand how so many in our community, they know this soccer stat, They know when the next game something is. They know all this other stuff, but they don't know who represents them. But it's like nobody feeds you that, right? I don't know how men know all these stats about all these football games and things like that and soccer matches, but they do, right? So it's like the same energy, just a little bit, and knowing who's around you is helpful. So that's really how it is. And what also would help me is you helping yourself, which I can tell from anyone that's on this call, you all do a lot. You all are engaged and you all care. We can't do this work without each other. And in order to be here for me or for anyone else, you have to have some self-care. And so I would ask, and especially as Africans, we put ourselves under the basement and our self-care is nowhere to be found. And so one thing I would say what would help me is that you lasting as an ally of mine, right? And in order for you to last, you can't just burn out. And so anyone on this call, that extra sleep, that face mask, that day away, that 20 minutes, that favorite show. I know we're talking about all this work in 45 days, and we can sprint for 45 days. But the question was for me, and I'm quite a young politician. I hope to be around for a long time. I need all of you to be there with me. And I can't get there by myself, and y'all are not healthy, and you're not happy, and you're going through things, right? So I would say also that bit of self-care, I would like to lift up, because if you don't do that, you can't last the journey. You can do the sprint, but you're not going to be here for that marathon. And so that's what I would say.
Thank you so much. I see Marie Mecca.
Yes, this is Mary. Yeah, my question to the council member, not the question first. Thank you so much for last Sunday, the beautiful event to celebrate the African Heritage Month. I was there in Laurel, and she was there to give us some remarks. Thank you so much. We enjoy. We really feel at home. I'm from Cameroon, but I've been a community organizer here in DMV for years. And when I saw her, I have been dreaming, but she was really, in front of me to have some more motivation and courage, as a woman in the community, carrying the community for years. It started to be a little burden for me to be on. In the African community, there is no criteria to be a community, to save anybody's life or to support, but sometimes when we have to do some stuff, we are very limited, and it started to be a burden for me to do everything by myself. And then I need help, because I try to dream too, to some leadership position too, so that the people who trust me, or the people, the no voice, I can voice for them, they can not to trust me more, but I can make sure I have all the resources together, because I like that since I'm a child. I enjoy to serve, to serve. Yeah, so, and I don't know about the proclamation of that African Heritage Month. I don't know, I didn't see it. I don't know if we can have it somewhere. Maybe I'm the one who didn't get it. Yeah, it's going to be good for us to have it. And for the campaign, yeah, I give my support to Harris. She's represent us. She's a brave woman. We are proud of her. And I'm available to give any support at any level. Just keep posting it to me. I'm going to reach out to you too. I got all the emails. So we are together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that, Maria. I just dropped, and I'm sure Fatmata will share the things I'm dropping. I put Miss Sylvia's contact, who's the diaspora liaison. I just put the link for the governor's proclamation for African Heritage Month. We could probably get a scanned copy of the proclamation for you, but I just wanted to send you some links if people kind of wanted to see it in a write-up way in the community, and we will definitely work on that. And I really appreciate the struggles that you've had, Marie, and your remarks. I tell people all the time, our community sometimes can be criticized about men and women and things like that. And I always say, I wouldn't be doing the work I'm doing without a strong, very intense, very alpha Nigerian father who literally pushes me to the point of no return on what I can accomplish and does not like to hear the word no or failure. And he is such a feminist as a Nigerian father and pushes me to be everything that I can. And so, we just all need that community to continue to do the work. So please reach out to me and lean on us to help you, not have the burden yourself, but to bring people in to help you in your work. And I'm more than happy to be a partner with you.
Thank you so much, Monica. Let me see if there are any more hands. I think I may have seen one. David Adefila.
Yes, okay. Council member, thank you. Unfortunately, I'm not in your jurisdiction. I'm in Springdale, so somebody else is representing us. Good job. I would like to contact with you also. Question is, when are we going to do this follow-up meeting again? I'm asking in general.
Oh, you mean just, can you give me a little detail more? What do you mean by?
Yeah, we meet every week. I can answer that. We meet every Wednesday, same time.
Okay. This is
yes,
the
sir.
first time I'm joining you. Okay, that's good.
Welcome.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us. But we're here every Wednesday.
Okay, that's cool. I know they had one before for when the former president Obama, and after then, what I'm trying to suggest is you have this. Hopefully, and pray we elect Kamala Harris. Now, I will suggest that this association should remain, and so that we can be contacting her for what we want as Africans in diaspora here, for what she should do for Africa. Okay,
that
so
is the intention,
I don't know whether you have that.
That is the intention. We'll continue this onwards.
Okay, good. That's good. Okay. Yes. So I will join you every week now. Then if I already contributed another place, yes, but I will contribute here again in terms of donation.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, so God bless you all. Okay.
And Mr. Adefeli, thank you so much. And next Wednesday, tell 10 people to come, and please donate, obviously, to the Africans in the diaspora, because when you donate through our link, it goes directly to the Democratic campaign to support all the Democrats who are running down the line, and we get credit as Africans in the diaspora. So bring 10 people with you next week, and we're here every Wednesday at 8:30. And yes, like Mr. Chris told you, we have big plans to continue this stuff post-election, but we have to speak as a group, as Africans in the diaspora. We want everyone to come on the plate. We want how this stuff affects us in the US and how they affect our continent as well. So we're all in this together.
Thank you.
And we've shared some critical information in the chat. I'm not sure if you see in the chat. We have some links there. Our contact information is there. And many more that you could use.
Can we put the donation link in the chat?
It's there too. I'll post it again now.
Okay, good. Just in case anyone needs to donate tonight, it doesn't matter how big, how small. We need every donation. We need every penny to push this campaign forward, generally speaking. So please, no matter how much it is, just go ahead and use the link that Dr. Sharif is going to send across, so we can be of support to all the campaigns, one way or the other, that are running. And again, Councilwoman Fisher, thank you so much for your very sound information and what you shared with us this night. I have some teachable stuff to go away with now and deal with those folks who are not in line with the real cause. Appreciate you.
Well, this is beautiful. Thank you, Monica.
I mean, a council member I could tell you're an excellent politician. District 2, as you know, the demographics have changed. I grew up here in the late 80s. these two demographics has changed a whole lot. The fact that you're there surviving tells me how of an excellent politicians you are, and whatever we could do as a group, we'll could do it, whatever we can to support you.
That's correct.
And
Thank you so much. Oh.
And she's not just an excellent politician, but she's also an excellent public servant. So the fact that she gives to her community is why people have stood behind her for up to this point, regardless of what community she's representing, because she has been on both sides. And she continues to serve her community. And I think that speaks to her ability to be a great public servant and does not serve her community based on anything other than their needs. I've only heard good things, so.
Are there any person with their hands up? Any new member? This is your first time here. Please come up.
Yeah, we have a Mary. Mary has a hand up. Mary,
Yeah,
do you want to go?
Mary
Okay,
Ware.
go ahead, Mary.
Thank you so much, Council Wanika, for the highlights you've made. For one, I was impressed by where you mentioned the importance of Senate in as far as U.S. foreign policy towards Africa. I stand for Watch Democracy Grow, and so that we really mind much while I engage locally, but I also engage internationally. So I was very moved when I had at least somebody locally thinking also how foreign policy affects us at home and abroad. So I will definitely reach out on various engagements if you don't mind, and we'll go through Fatimata. We usually get conferences. Right now, being a non-partisan, we can't say Kamala, but we say vote. But as a woman, of course, and who is on to democracy, she stands strong, especially to see that at least now we can get a woman going for the highest office in the land, which has been also lacking, except being the first secretaries that we have had in the country. So I want to applaud you and appreciate you this evening for being here too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you.
I see
Anyone else hands is up? You can please go ahead.
I see Miss Charlotte's hand is up, and I see Miss Charlotte's hand.
Good evening. How is everyone?
Good evening.
Good evening, Michelle.
Good. Well, thank you so much, Councilwoman. I am just so blessed by you being here tonight and everything, and I appreciate and will put you on our prayer list. A couple of things. We're encouraging everyone to register and everyone to vote. My concern right now is because of something that is going on with Trump being in Uniondale tonight to one of his rallies. I grew up in Uniondale. I graduated Uniondale High School in 1970. He's like 10 minutes away from my old house. I'm trying to figure out, why is he there when he doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell of ever carrying that particular, district or anything? My concern right now, which I want to bring up, is while we are looking at certain things, I am watching them pass legislation about electors and how they're going to certify this election. Okay, so yes, Kamala could win by a landslide. Okay, but certain things are being put in place that can negate that if the electors do not certify, the election, and they only have to do that in certain states. Then it has to go, if I am correct, it'll go back to Congress, and the House. And we know the House is Republican. Okay, so is anyone looking at that and possibly seeing about filing some laws or something to stop them from being able to change these laws at the last minute that would prevent electors from, certifying this election? That's the question that I have for all of the attorneys. Are they looking at that? And you yourself, as a congresswoman, looking at that?
Councilmember Fisher?
Sure, yeah. And I know some people have said congresswoman, and from your mouth to God's ears, but I'm a council member, so I was a state representative, and then I'm locally on the county council. But I would say so. Miss Charlotte, you have the same concerns that many in the party and across the country do. So each state, and depending on where you are, there's like election laws and election watchers and reporters for each state. The Democratic Party, I'll go look for it and then put in the chat, has like a hotline when you see or witness anything. Most states, 45 days out, Miss Charlotte, there's not enough time to really change any laws that are already on the books in every state, the way their Board of Elections have set it up. But there are lawyers, whether it's in the ACLU or the party, that are ready to go file. And what they'll do is they'll file and make injunctions for it to stop right away in several states. So the Democratic Party kind of already almost prepays. I actually have a friend who's at one of the bigger firms to come and step in and start those lawsuits to be ready in states where they think like there might not be election certification or hampering with our elections. But that really is a huge focus for the party, and I know that they already spend money on a contract for a legal team for that. And then the reporting for each state when you might see like election fraud and things like that. So that's kind of what I know. We're very lucky in a state like Maryland. We are good to go on certifications. Our laws are correct in that matter. And we have a great Board of Elections. But when it comes to other states, for sure, and I have very close friends in Georgia, and they made changes and are ready to go for that. And they had a similar setup like they had during the Warnock race. If you remember, Senator Warnock's was really, really tough. And that was almost like a Democratic practice run and precursor. So that really taught them a lot. And I know that the party is ready to go to fight in court as they were thinking they might have to be for Senator Warnock's race in Georgia.
Excellent. And by the way, you are Congresswoman as far as I'm concerned.
I can also add to that. I was actually watching a piece. There was a piece on that on MSNBC this evening. The electors that were just appointed, the 3 electors, are actually changing. They've literally wrote a proposal to change 11 of the Georgia election laws. And the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, I forgot his name, he was big. He is pushing back. So there are people watching, not just Democrats, the Republicans that are upstanding are watching this too, and then trying to put a stop to it as much as we can. But I think, like you said, the goal is for them to contest in the battleground states. They've been placing these electors in there to try to, again, stop the certification of these elections. But it's being watched, and the public is starting to get wind of it. So all eyes on deck, all hands on deck.
So
I see Ruth.
great question. I know was this Stephanie or Chris? There was an update in the news that you guys were going to share. I know we have 5 minutes to go.
We have one last hand up real quick that we can do, Chris and Stephanie. Ruth. Ruth, are you there? I see you put your hand back up. You're muted if you're talking. Okay. All right. So for a couple of minutes, Stephanie and Chris, you guys got some reporting to give us for the news for Dr. Fouad? Because I don't know, Ruth has her hand up, but I don't know if maybe there's something wrong with her mic.
Maybe. Chris, you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
You go first, Stephanie. Go ahead. I'll go after you.
So
mine is pretty simple.
I've noticed, except for the big Diddy news, let's get back to politics. What I've noticed is that the opposition, they don't really have a way to...
Hold on real quick. Wanika, so we don't hold you. We are going into the news and maybe some conversations about that. You are welcome to stay, but I know you have packed stuff tomorrow. And I want to thank you for taking the time, for responding and saying yes, and coming more than always prepared. And we appreciate you. She has been all over the place. We got her in with the Governor's Commission on African Affairs to speak to us on Saturday. And now I have her here. She's been all over the place. So I want to take this time to say thank you so much and appreciate you.
Thank you. And I just want everyone to know, I put in the chat the national contact for the election fraud, and I've been following what you guys been asking me, and I've been trying to put it, toss it in the chat for you all. So thank you again. Thank you for having me. I will listen. I'll just be off camera packing. I'm privileged. I'm going to Korea on Saturday to represent the county for some economic development. So I have to pack my bags and do that. So I just really appreciate all of you. And if you ever have personal questions, I know some of you might be interested in running for office questions. Pamada will tell you I'm an open book. So if you just want to DM me or want coffee, I will actually, if you want to meet with me, like actually have a Zoom with me personally or a conversation, I will put my scheduler's information, Greta Sandino, in there in the chat for you all. Please don't share with other people, but keep it with the 50 some of you that are here. I just don't want to disseminate it around the world, but you all can have that. And that's really how to see me in person. Like Famada's lucky, she gets me with just my text, but everybody else I kind of have a scheduler. So you actually really want to see me or you want me at an event, like something like that, I'm going to put her information in the chat. So you don't even have to go to me. You can just go straight to her because in the end, I will refer you to her anyway. And she's very responsive. If you want to Zoom or you want to in person or you want me at an event or you want a county citation or proclamation for a community leader or something of that nature, please contact my office and I'm going to put my scheduler, Greta Sandino, in the chat for you all. Again, I just thank each and every one of you, and you don't have to raise your hand or say anything. Just please promise me you're going to have some self-care in your lives, as well as we continue to fight for our community and our people.
Thank you. Thank you. Guys, give a big round of applause for Councilmember Monica Fisher, please. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
If Fuad, take it up, the floor is open.
No, Madam Stephanie, it was Stephanie.
Stephanie and Chris, I'm sorry.
Okay, back to the news. So the latest news that I've been watching, we noticed that Trump's team, they don't have anything to really fight our vice president on. So the newest news is that the Republican governor, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, was in Flint, Michigan with Trump yesterday. And she was making a speech. And one of the things that she attacked Kamala on, and this is the new thing that they're doing, is they're attacking her on the fact that it claims she doesn't have any kids. She made a comment that, her kids keep her grounded or, and that Kamala basically doesn't have anything to keep her grounded or humble. I'm not sure, remember exactly what the words were.
The word was humble, yes.
Humble, yes. That she couldn't keep her humble because she doesn't have any kids. So everyone's in an uproar. They have all Whoopi, everybody's now jumping in. So she's just insulted a lot of those women who are stepmothers, who adopted children, or those who can't have children, or those who just don't want to have children. It is a choice. So that is the latest news that I've been hearing, and everybody is talking about it.
Yeah, boy, I mean, it's just to follow up on her. And obviously, this is just a distraction, and I'm glad the VP is a disciplined woman. She's not gonna fall for distraction. It's just distraction. That's all it is. These guys, they don't have any policy to talk about. The time is short. They know collectively they're losing. I have never seen, and maybe Dr. Bull and others who have been here even longer. I've been here since the 80s. I have never seen Republicans talking publicly of voting for a Democratic presidential candidate. Not even in 2008 for Barack Obama. I personally think she's going to get over 300 electoral votes. I've never seen that. And this is because of the horrible person Donald Trump is, where you have Republicans coming publicly talking about supporting her. And they just all scared. They want to distract her. That's all it is.
Good point. My news this week is early voting starts. It's sooner than later. In my state of Virginia, early voting starts, I believe, on Monday, September 20th. What I implore all of us to do here is to look up your state and find out when early voting starts. You can start by taking your parents, grandparents to do early voting. I'm sure there won't be any lines in the states as early as you start. If you go to iwillvote.com, It will tell you exactly when your state starts early voting and where you can vote. You can also check your registration there. iwillvote.com. I'll put it in the chat. But we have to get out and vote. As Dr. Bull always says, take 4 or 5 people to vote. Your parents, your grandparents, your kids. For us to have Gen Z kids, they're engaged, but they're not engaged. You got to push them, talk to them, say, hey, when are you voting? Are you registered? Make sure you can go vote. But we got to get out and vote. When we come out, we always win.
Yes. Not
The only time we've lost an election is in 2016, when about 40% of us stayed at home.
Yeah.
We come out, we always win.
Yeah. Thank you. And we have Sis Philomena Desmond has her hand up. You're on mute.
Yes, I know I'm taking myself. I've been listening. Mr. Chris, early voting starts in Virginia on Friday, not on Monday. And what I will advise everybody who have been talking, what you don't know that, especially Republican states and Democratic states, where the counties are controlled by Republicans, they are deregistering Democrats. I have helped in Virginia here, I have helped like 3, 4 families who voted during the primaries and they vote as families. When they want to check, they've told them that, 3 of the children are not registered. They have already, this is in Loudoun County, which is controlled by Republicans. Please, each one of us here, I know people are from different states here. Please, not all the 30 we are talking. If we go there, our people are deregistered, we're in trouble. Although there'll be election protection officers, but that doesn't solve the problem. We have to, from now, check in, like my brother Chris said, vote.com, and the time for early voting and voter registration closure. To find out, put your name, they ask you your name, your age, and everything, and other, private security question they ask in that to check if you are really registered. If you are not, please contact your election department and the Democratic Party. I have heard like 4 or 3 families the last week. These are people who voted in primary. All of a sudden, Republicans are deregistering them. And those of you who have children that will be 18 by November 5, they should register. Yes, it's very essential. And those of you who have children that are of age of volunteering, most of these county offices, Democratic offices, don't have volunteers from our community. You can't send me to go and talk to an Italian community. I don't know their way of life. I don't know. But if our community, somebody from our community comes in person to talk to us, we engage in a conversation. And in most of the Harris-Walz office, then most of the volunteers don't look like you and I, not even like African Americans. Yes, please let us do something, and especially the registering of people. That's very, very essential. And they are targeting immigrants since we eat cat and dogs, and they want to deport all of us, which he will start with his wife first anyway. And his son-in-law, the daughter that got married to a Nigerian. Yes, he carries Nigerian passport, although he's a Lebanese. That's why Trump couldn't help it during the wedding in Florida. The boy was born in Nigeria, school in Nigeria, all his friends are Nigeria, Papa's friends are Nigerian, so Nigerians feel that place. Playing Timaya's music and all the, Trump couldn't help it. So we start from there, please. That is very, very essential. Volunteering and checking if maybe some of us here even deregistered, we don't know. Please, thank you very much. That's all this information. And to tell Chris that early voting starts on Friday. I'm working at the polls on Friday.
Yeah, the 20th. Yeah, I had the date right.
And
the date was right. The date was wrong.
I'm an election officer for 3 years in Virginia. I know it starts on Friday.
The 20th.
Yeah.
Right, which is Friday. Yeah.
Thank you, Princess Philomena. So, Chris, we're gonna leave Loudoun County to you. You're in charge. If anything goes wrong, Loudoun County,
We are locked and ready to go, man. Loudoun County is ready to
So,
go.
Chris, you have to join Virginia African Diaspora Community Committee. I don't know if you're a member.
No, I am not.
You better join, huh?
Send me the information. I will.
Because we are very grassroots.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
Me personally, I would like to obviously.
I can see Dio from Uganda. He's a good mobilizer, a good son of Africa, and a good Catholic. He's from Uganda, but anything African. He's even part of our Virginia African Diaspora. Thank you, Joan. I see Mary Ware here. Has she gone? I don't know if she has gone.
Yeah, she spoke earlier.
I am here. I'm here from Mina.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So,
thank you, Princess Philomena Kaunda here. Gracias from Uganda.
Dear.
Well, guys, it's
Thank
about 10:37 on the East Coast. Obviously, want to thank every one of you for the panelists for taking this special time of your schedule in the midweek. It takes special people. I tell some friends of mine, we are doing God's work. And some of our friends and family might say, what do these guys do? You don't have anything better to do? What we're doing is God's work. If you look at, if you're a good history of American history, doing the civil rights, there are lots of people who were at home. Only few people are on the streets doing civil rights. And 60 years later, we are enjoying those benefits. So thank God, Martin Luther King and all those who were out there on the streets doing the civil rights era, the hard work they did, these are what we are enjoying. So what we are doing now, our kids and their grandkids, they're going to enjoy those benefits. And I want to thank you and every one of it. We're doing God's work. This is not for everyone. Most people might think you guys have nothing better to do in our community. But let's keep going. They're going to come around. And we're excited. I look at this like we're doing God's work. And I'm sure, I'm sure all of you guys look at it like this. Not all of us are doing this type of work. This is God's work that we're doing. Because we want to provide a better America for our kids and our grandkids, because this is where we live.
Okay. On that note, thank you, everyone. Remember, we have only two choices. That's it. There's no third choice. We have only two choices. It's either going to be Donald Trump, the man who has on every level told you and showed you who he is as it relates to us as African immigrants and everybody who is not straight white male. He has told you what he thinks of you. He has told you what he will do if he comes back into the White House. He has told you and shown you. We have only two choices. We have just a few days left for this election to start. Few days, just this weekend, not even this weekend, right? Starting Friday. We only have tomorrow. Elections start Friday, people. I'll say it again. I know people like to say, don't repeat stuff, but this is worth repeating. Two choices. That's all we have. And I know we want to see all these things out here. We want to see all this information. But if nothing else, that debate showed you what Donald Trump does not have, a plan. He has a concept of a plan, people. He does not have a plan. He has a concept of a plan. Okay? We know what he would do. The man tweeted out a meme, a picture of Black migrants, African migrants, and told the world, if you vote for Kamala Harris, this is what your neighborhood is going to look like. That is what he thinks of us. It's not hidden. Kamala Harris went to Ghana, met with Idris Elba and others, and spoke of the relationship she wants to build with countries of the continent. That is not Donald J. Trump. We have two choices in this election starting Friday. And I pray that we choose the right choice. And that's Kamala Harris. And then look down the ballot and vote Democrat down the ballot so that she can have a House and a Senate to work with and get things done. On that note, thank you, everyone. It's late, it's 10:41, and we appreciate everybody for making the time to be here. Next week, again, we will be here. We'll be putting out the information of our of the guests we're going to have. We're having another delegate from, well, another elected officials, this time a delegate from Prince George's County. So anyone who's from Prince George's County, look out for that information. And we hope to see you all next week. Fuad?
Yes, ma'am. Well,
Close us out.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for all the work we're doing. Big thing. There's a link in there for you to register for us to go to, for us in the DMV to go to Pennsylvania, and those in North Carolina to get 20 or 30 people for North Carolina or Georgia or anyone else that in any of the other battleground states, Arizona, North Carolina, Georgia. So please, let's get 20 to 30 people. As soon as you have those numbers, the campaign is ready to help us with logistics to go and get out the vote. Please, let's do that. And God bless us all. And thank you for being here. And again, we're doing God's work. Let's keep going. Thank you. You guys. Who got his music going now?
Catherine, please send us an email. See you in Arizona. Please send us an email, Catherine.
Okay, I will.
All right. Good night, everyone. I'm going to log off now. Appreciate you all.
All right. Good night, everyone.